I'm Scott Carpenter, and welcome to my housetop. My family and I went to Kings Island this past weekend. It's a theme park near Cincinnati, Ohio. We went just to get away and have some fun together. But of course, we had to bring along our cell phones to keep in contact with friends and family through social media. This contact with the outside world, sadly, became a source of stress for us. The screams and shouts of enjoyment we heard all around us at the park that day were sometimes mixed with the screams and shouts of fear and hatred emanating from our phones as we watched news clips of the riots in Charlottesville, Virginia that were going on at the same time. The riots and the violence were perpetrated by the alt-right activists and those that oppose them. The alt-right is a broad movement that's affiliated with groups that might be more familiar to us, like white supremacists, white nationalists, and even neo-Nazi groups. I know these hate groups have their differences, but it seems their desire to have the white race take back the control of this country is something with which they all have in common. They feel the white male is now being attacked, or at least marginalized, by our changing American culture. The Western way of life as we know it is in grave danger, and they intend on changing that, violently if necessary. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created unequal. This country does belong to white people, culturally, politically, socially, everything. Losing gracefully will eventuate in the destruction of our people and civilization. These quotes are attributed to Richard Spencer, a leader in the alt-right movement who speaks out strongly against blacks and Jews. This movement, and everyone associated with it, is pure evil. And as a humble follower of Jesus Christ, who himself is unmistakably a Jew, I condemn the philosophies and violent actions of these racist groups. Every person of every nation comes from Adam and Eve, plain and simple. I believe, because the Bible clearly teaches it, that we are all ancestors of Noah and his family after the Great Flood. The genetic diversity between each race is easily explained by the fact that as people groups formed, the inherited traits that make up the beautiful variations in our appearances can be traced back to the many and varied traits hidden within the DNA of our biblical ancestors, the progenitors of our particular race. Over time, these distinct traits became more prominent with each passing generation. That being said, we do share an enormous amount of traits that make us a part of the human race. Who are we to rise up and look down at a particular race and proclaim that we are superior, that we are greater in the eyes of the Almighty, who created us all? This is pure ignorance at best, and pure evil at worst, or both. And this evil and this ignorance led men and women to clash with great violence in Charlottesville, even leading a man full of hatred to mow over anti-protesters, killing a young woman and wounding about 24 others in hopes that it would further his vain and worthless cause, to exalt self. But we all do it, don't we? Exalt self. In some way or another, we look for ways to place ourselves first, at the front of the line, to make sure we get ours, to fight for our rights, and to ensure that our desires are met, whether in our marriage or at work. And we want our thoughts and feelings not to be disrespected. We loathe the thought of being trampled underfoot. We want to be taken seriously, and we want to be greatly valued. That's why on social media, so many of us unfollow or unfriend our friends sometimes. What if time and time again we were ignored, marginalized, laughed at, pushed aside, passed up? Many of us don't really know what that feels like, by the way. But we think that it should lead us to better ourselves and to push ourselves to attain greater heights of accomplishment so that then we can finally achieve recognition, the recognition we deserve. But more times than not, feeling sidelined, forgotten, year after long year, will either lead us to unhappiness and depression, or it can lead us to fear, to resentment, and sadly, to even react in violent ways. No, I am not making excuses for abhorrent behavior. I mean, we could all wish that every man and woman could control themselves and be content to humbly and quietly go about their day, serving those around them without any desire for more. But given our love for self, that's not realistic. And if it's possible that we could tie our grievances to a greater cause, like rescuing our nation's identity or our race's livelihood, then it becomes bigger than ourselves. It can even become honorable and justifiable. And with that, we could garner support from larger groups of people. Before you know it, many will choose to join our side. We now have a movement. We can incite fear through the legal process, yes, but through intimidation or through war. By whatever means, we're going to get what we want. We will come out on top because between you and me in a fight, I want to be the king of the mountain. Why should you win and I always lose? Why do you deserve all the breaks? Because you think you're better? Or you think that you work harder than I do? That you're more deserving? Yes, I'm playing the devil's advocate here. And the devil certainly has a part to play in all of this. You know what else the human race all has in common? Pride. And pride is a very scary thing. It destroys once loving marriages as well as entire nations. Pride causes us to be at war with each other, yes, but ultimately to be at war with God and His plan. You see, the devil started it all. After he was created, he didn't feel he was getting enough attention. He wanted to be his own God. I will be like the Most High, he said. Now God lets him rule upon this earth as the prince of the power of the air, with limitations. So blame him for all the evil in the world, not God. Satan then tempted Adam and Eve with the idea that if you disobey God and partake of the fruit of the tree, you will be like your own God. And they did. And with devastating results. That is why we suffer so much today. In 2 Timothy 3, we're warned that in the last days, before Jesus returns, men and women will become lovers of themselves. They will become high-minded and will boast. They will lack natural affection and even become violent against each other. Doesn't that read like today's news? Also, in the last days, Jesus tells us that nation will rise up against nation. And it's all because of pride. You have it. I have it. The protesters, as well as the anti-demonstrators, have it. Kim Jong-un has it, as he threatens to lob missiles to prove that he should not be disrespected. Donald Trump has pride as well, as he announces that America is locked and loaded and ready to rain down fire and fury unlike the world has ever seen. Our pride leads us to think that we are the center of our world. We are number one. We even have parents of small children battling it out with their fists on little league fields across this country, just to prove a point. Pride has led some to believe that they are the greatest race of people on this earth, and it has led to hate-filled chanting, then to violence, and ultimately to killing in the streets. Pride leads many countries to believe that they are the most exceptional nation, the greatest nation upon the planet. And it leads to threats, and ultimately to war, and to the death of our precious loved ones. But pride is good, right? If it protects our freedom, our way of life? I wonder. At least in one sense, you do not want to protect your freedom and your way of life. Let me explain. I understand that many of you do not believe in God. I respect that. It's your choice. I understand that you have no desire to even consider the possibility that you were created by a master designer and that you are accountable to this awesome, powerful, and holy God because you really like your freedom. But Jesus said this, "Whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it." Lose your life for Jesus' sake. You think that if you hold on to your freedom and maintain the control of your life, you have succeeded. Can I suggest to you that it is your pride that is keeping you from understanding the truth? The pride of the devil and his lies are keeping you blinded. You believe that you are the God, the captain of your own life. But what your pride will not allow you to acknowledge is that you are actually at war against God himself. And you are in bondage to sin and to pride. And you cannot see that if you humbled yourself as a little child and chose to follow Jesus Christ, you would in reality win everything that matters. Jesus said, "Verily I say unto you, except you be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven." Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. You are my friends, Jesus said, if you do whatsoever I commanded you. You see, it doesn't matter what nationality you are. You just need to humble yourself before God. Let go of your pride. Let go of the control of your life and let Jesus call the shots. Profess Jesus as your Lord and Master. Not because you just fear him, but more importantly because you love him. And you love him for what he did on the cross for you when he shed his blood for your sins and the sins of the whole world. He miraculously rose from the dead with hundreds seeing it and professing to it, even to their deaths. He now assures our victory over sin and death as well. He desires for you to come to grips with why you were created in the first place, not to live for yourself. You'll never be satisfied with that. But you will find eternal satisfaction living for the one who created you and saved you. He's the only one who can save you and save the world from a life of pride and destruction. The world will never humble itself and turn to him, not as a whole. But you can make that choice. Will you repent, let go of your life, and humbly surrender it all